have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it! My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes. Men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
It's time to buckle up for making sense of the madness.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here. And once again, I have dropped the ball. Normally, I would have done a Bohemian Grove broadcast probably sometime last week at the latest. And here we are at the tail end of July, and I have not mentioned the organization or the get-together in 2025, and that is my bad. But we're going to talk about it today, and it's always extremely difficult to figure out when the actual Grove is taking place. Whereas Bilderberg has a website, the Bohemian Grove is still, really at least shadowed in the type of national and international secrecy that there isn't an official list that they put out. They don't usually put out the dates. Maybe local media will get those dates, but I was looking into any stories on the Bohemian Grove within the last even month or so, and the only one that I came across is a lawsuit that we're actually going to discuss, just to show you how many of these people feel about the commoner, okay? About people like you and myself. I often talk about this because many of these billionaires, people that are derived from nepotistic bloodlines, if you will, have a very social, Darwinistic view of the world. And this is why I think that the quote-unquote predator class is the correct terminology. I know there are a lot of people out there that want to call them the parasite class. You can say that because they're sucking off. They'll cut your throat. They look at each other as fair game at certain points. They're predators. Make no mistake about that. G. Edward Griffin is 100%. They are a predator class. And that's where you get the social climbers, like the Bush families that are able to get in there, big part of not only the Bohemian Grove, but Skull and Bones, as we're going to show you from my subsection in Invisible Empire. So if you are new, you're going to get a real treat in this one. If you've never watched any of my films, we're going to show you the Secret Society / Bohemian Grove section of this so you can get a real feel for why I think it's important that people understand this is a large club like George Carlin talks about, and we're not in it, okay? And the cremation of care ritual, all right, and it is, in fact, a ritual where all this club gets together and they absolve themselves of their woes outside. In other words, their concern, their conscience. It's a ritual about the only thing you should be concerned about is the group here and their goals. All right? And we're going to show you a book, and anybody's going to be able to read this book. I like having a hard copy of it, called The Long Ago and the Later On by George T. Bromley. And Bromley becomes the high priest, okay, the high priest of the Bohemian Grove, and actually brings the owl in. We're going to dispel some myths. For instance, the myth that owl is in fact Moloch. There may be parallels in the cremation of care ritual, but it is certainly not Moloch. The great owl of Bohemia is their deity. I have many of their annals. If you've watched my broadcasts in the past, you can see me handle those annals. They are very specific about it being an owl, and the owl imagery is throughout not only the grove itself, but its subsequent club in San Francisco. And really, it was through San Francisco that Bromley, even back in the 1800s, okay, the 1800s, gets recruited into the club and actually watches his first ritual. I'm going to show you where you can read this book, okay, and we're going to read some of it on air today as well. But the historical value of the Grove is also extremely important, okay? This is John Vanderzee, tough book to get, especially with the sleeve on it. This is in great shape. The greatest men's party on earth. And they actually let Vanderzee in there. I think it was in the 70s. There he is right here at the Grove. So this is the one rare instance. They let a journalist in. It wasn't just, Alex Jones getting the cremation of care under guys with John Ronson. Wasn't that? You also had other instances. I think it was Spy Magazine was able to get some pictures inside of the Grove. Had a mole in there. I like to get the stuff that is available after they pass, or somebody gets it after these groves so you can really see. I'm going to show you some of the stuff like on eBay. We're also going to show you how that cremation of care ritual, and if you saw the thumbnail, is still going on to this day. We had people who broke in once again last year, and they got amazing footage. I mean, amazing footage. A lot of them did get arrested after the fact. Not shocking. Not shocking. So you ask yourself, why? Well, I think it's this weird, not only indoctrination ritual, but there are a ton of other plays and things that they do as well. And in large part, this is the quote-unquote right-wing establishment, the conservative establishment, which makes it all the more creepy as a lot of these guys, present themselves as Christian conservatives. So we're going to go over all that, and not only are we going to play a subsection of my film, An Invisible Empire. Again, this is going to be a pretty fun one for people. If you're not familiar with the Grove or so much my work, we've actually got 2 news clips. Okay, 2 news clips. There's portions, I believe, of those news clips within my Bohemian Grove section, but we're going to play them unadulterated so you can see. I believe these clips are from the 80s, when even the mainstream media would acknowledge how powerful these people at the Grove were. And one of the really interesting things about the book here is it's in chapter 8 that Bromley gets recruited into the Grove, and they start talking about that. And the reason it's on a boat, he brings the owl over. They had a, whatchamacallit? Oh, I forgot I had that in there. That's right. At the time, they had a Buddha. We're going to show you that Buddha. But in this copy that is just so old, Bohemians honor best loved man, body of Uncle George Bromley, buried at Woodlawn 3 days after his death. Okay? So this is actually a cutout. This is not part of the book. A news clipping of the man's obituary. And as we're going to show you, I just got that, man. You're going to see Bromley, but it's dedicated to the Bohemian Club. Of course. It says 121 years old, I believe now. Somewhere in there. 121 years old, that book. Love it. Love having it. I like having physical copies, not like an AI breakdown. In that book, I mean, you want to talk about the power structure. There's a whole section on how he meets John D. Rockefeller back in the day. Gives a great insight into the 1800s as well. And this is a guy, again, that becomes not only the Bohemian Club's best man, but as you're going to see, the high priest. Okay? The high priest. All right, folks, I need you to thumbs this up, subscribe, share the channel with people. Check out the documentary films. Again, you're going to get a taste. But most importantly, I need your support. I hate having to do this. But once again, guys, there are no paychecks. If I want to keep doing this, I need you guys. I do want to thank everybody who has heard that call, that has donated $5, $10, $15. It really does mean the world to me. Big donors need you now more than ever. You don't want to do the Buy Me a Coffee. There are other links down below. And once again, could not do it without you. Let's get into it really quick. So, I mean, I think that these things get oversimplified with quote-unquote satanic rituals, right? But this is some of that footage that I was showing you here, inside the grove for the cremation of care. And the thing is that while this is going on, they also have, I think it's the San Francisco Orchestra. They're like lesser members to these people so that they can play, and they have the orchestra not only for this, but all these other plays as well. And, as you saw within that right there is the sacrifice, their care, if you will. And it's just, again, it's an effigy of a human. And that's death rowing up to their little sacrificial altar. And we're keeping this small so that we don't get like some kind of a copyright strike. I could make it larger. But again, very bizarre. Again, since so many of these people say that they're Christian conservatives. Now, you go on eBay right now. This is the 100th anniversary of the owl for only $849.95. You can get this bronze bust of this thing. It's pretty small, too. It's like probably this big. I don't have money to burn like that, but this is a pretty cool piece. And the predecessor, the Buddha that was there, is also plaster. This is not a stone owl. It's just made to look like it's stone. Again, if you want history on this, here you got two things. You got this booklet right here from 2016 about the music. And then you can go right over here, and it gives you the 2020 list of who's going to be singing songs like, what do we got here? We got Mustang Sally. We got Treat Her Right, Stubborn Kind of a Fella, Love Potion number 9, Heard It Through the Grapevine, Twist and Shout. Okay? So, just to think this is like one giant satanic ritual. No, this is a big party for a lot of these guys. But the truth of the matter is, and when you start to get into it, here's that same thing in 1989. This is the overarching theme that happens every single time. They have high jinks, they have low jinks. Okay? And here's when the owl's there, and that's that orchestra I was talking about in front of it. This is back in the older days. Now, I want to read some of this, because this is that lawsuit that we were talking about, and then we're going to get into the long ago and the later on, George Bromley himself, and then the clips of not only Invisible Empire, but the mainstream coverage of this. Sickening claims are leveled against famous billionaire during his time at mysterious elite men only forest retreat. Now, I'm just going to tell you, these are allegations. I'm going to read this, but this is how I feel that a lot of these guys look at the rest of us. Just going to throw that out there. An employee at the Bohemian Grove's Elite's Men Retreat alleged that billionaire businessman Bill Koch requested that the worker hand wash his underwear. How about that? Bohemian Grove is an exclusive 2,700-acre campsite on Bohemian Avenue, Sonoma County, California, which hosts the men's only Bohemian Club. I just want to say this, Sonoma is gorgeous. And the redwoods, if you've never been in a redwood forest, it is surreal. They are massive, massive trees. You can tell why these people picked that place. Number one, it's going to be hard to get any overhead camera shots when you're in those woods. These trees are so large. And it is, it is a feat of nature. And you feel quite small when you're next to these things. Every July, there is a camp on the site for a fortnight attended by some of the Earth's most influential men from politics, culture, and business. And remember, I often talk about how we had Bilderberg a couple months ago, much smaller group, but a lot of those are crossover members, right? Talked about Bromley and John D. Rockefeller, and you can go read that yourself. We're going to show you where in a moment. Okay? And now it's kind of like the compartmentalization keys. You can disperse that amongst other people in this, there's this 2-week encampment. It's not just a weekend. Lots more private meetings with lots more folks that are influential. They act like there isn't business going on there. My ass, there's not business going on there. There's always business going on with these people. Okay? Sean Granger, Anthony Gregg, and Waleed Saad filed a lawsuit alleging wage theft while they worked at the club, and it wasn't settled until several wild allegations came out. The suit was over violations of California labor laws and included not giving them breaks to take meals or refusing to pay the state's minimum wage. So you don't even get minimum wage with these people, okay? And you're going to find out that you can clock in. Here it is. Granger, Gregg, and said they were ordered to work 100-hour weeks, but forced by supervisors to clock in just 40 hours. That's in the November 2023 lawsuit, okay? One of the claims was that Gregg was made fun of by members of the Bohemian Club for complying with a request from a famous billionaire, William Koch, to hand wash his underwear. Ha 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 ha, peasant. Wash my rags. Koch, whose net worth is said to be $2 billion according to Forbes, was not named as a defendant in the lawsuit, and the spokesman for him adamantly denied the charge while saying he isn't a member. I mean, again, who knows? I'm just reading an article. But if you don't think billionaires feel that way and more about you, I don't know what to tell you. Okay? There's no dates given in the alleged incident. There's no detail, period, Brad Goldstein said. Goldstein claims the allegations were just to force the club to settle the lawsuit. And given the fact that Mr. Koch is not a member of the club and is always confused with his brother, I doubt the veracity of the claim. The thing is, you can be a guest. They bring in a lot of guests as well. And in this article, they talk about Jones, and they talk about the fact that the Bohemian Grove, really at the club, they recruited members, and they take great pride in it. They'll tell you. They're the ones that brought the Manhattan Project and the nuclear bomb and nuclear power into fruition. Okay? Something that wasn't in Oppenheimer, huh? For the newbies out there. So I want to show the Buddha that was before the owl. There it is right there. And notice they're still kind of in these like druidic, odd robes, right? Bromley himself is in front of the, he becomes the high priest before he brings the owl in. But now, the long ago and later on, you just type in that right there into Google and a PDF, and you can also read this whole shebango, okay? And like we showed you before, just want to show you here, dedicated to the Grove, right out of the gates, or the recollection of 80 years. Where is it right here? Man, it takes me a while to get down to there. There it is, right there. Boom. Now, let's see, which page are we on? Oh, on 7. I think we want to get to, what is it, chapter 8, right here, 84. This is when he joins the club. We're going to read some of this for everybody so they can check it out themselves. By the way, thumbs this up, subscribe, share. Links down below to support the broadcast. Join the Bohemian Club, some of the jinx and the other happenings, the Author's Carnival, the Circus Maximus. Now, in 1872, the Bohemian Club was organized, and as I read from time to time in the daily papers of its doings, I felt a strong desire to become a member. But when I came to know that it was made up of men whose lives were devoted to art, literature, and drama, and other high-toned callings, I concluded that as I did not come within hailing distance of the qualifications requisite, I would have to content myself by simply reading the newspaper notices, as my occupation at the time was that of fulfilling a contract made with the Board of Supervisors for sweeping the streets of the city by machinery. And although my successful dealings with the Board of Supervisors in obtaining the contract might have been a qualification sufficient for a member of the state legislature, it was of no earthly account in an application for the membership in the Bohemian Club. So then it gets into, and I don't even know if that's how Bromley actually talked, just being a bit of an ass clown. Gets into how he gets in, and what I want to talk about is, at one point, he's there, and it's like, God bless us all, right? Where is it? There's the high priest of Bohemia, right there. So he gets his first taste of the high priest, and this is basically, I think, his induction ceremony, right? And then we're going to get into the actual cremation of care, because on this one, it's like, God bless everyone, ha 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 ha, and let's all drink. See? May the wind blow through my whiskers when they're allowed to grow. So all this, I hereby pledge my word in this Bohemian toddy. This is the initiation ritual right here. It's all right here. But I want to get into, because here's the candidate. There's the may God bless us all, and then they all get drunk. This is the happy times, happy, in the banquet room. But I want to get right here into the Midsummer Night hijinks and the actual cremation of care. So this is the end of the hijinks. It's the opening of the deal. At the close of the hijinks, the ceremony, okay, so this isn't a play, the ceremony of the cremation of care is solemnized. And it is not easy to conceive of a more solemn ceremony. How about that? On the top of the hill in the rear of the hijinks stage are gathered those who are to participate in the cremation. And when the sire declares the hijinks closed, he requests the audience to remain seated, and the signal is given for the procession to move. The band, playing the Dead March, is followed by the high priest and the bearers of the casket containing the remains of care. Then comes the procession bearing torches, and as they descend the winding pathway, lighted by various colored lights, it is certainly one of the most solemn sights ever witnessed, for nowhere else could be seen such magnificent surroundings. As the procession passes the audience, they all fall in and proceed to the ravine where the funeral pyre has been erected. And after marching twice around the pyre, the casket is then deposited thereon. The band plays a dirge, and the master of ceremonies delivers a short funeral oration. Then comes the high priest with his address, closing with the soul-stirring announcement that carking care is conquered and Bohemia is free. How about that? Then come the torchbearers to apply their torches as soon as the whole catalog is ablaze and the burning blocks fall asunder. The fireworks in the casket then burst forth, a magnificent display of rockets, bombs, and Roman candles brilliantly lighting up the ravine and all of its surroundings. The order is then given to fall in and march back to the camp. And soon the going sounds for supper, and here again is the jollity and mirth, which usually lasts until 1:30 in the morning. So it's a big party afterwards. And he talks about the cremation further here, okay? There it is. I have dilated upon the ceremony of the cremation of care at a greater length than I otherwise intended, for the reason that I am perpetual high priest of the Bohemia, a distinguished honor which I most highly appreciate. See that? He's the high priest. Among the midsummer hijinks at which I have officiated as high priest were several upon which I should love to dilate. The Buddha jinks, held in the redwoods back in the Mount Templus. See, he's talking about that Buddha. I'm going to leave it there. You can read more if you can read the whole book. It's out there long ago and the later on. With that being said, what we're going to do is we're going to play the Bohemian Grove Secret Society section of Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined. Once again, folks, consider supporting the broadcast. The links are down below. Here we go.
So is there anything else about the ruling class we should know? Politicians, business leaders, and media figures are often portrayed as pillars of morality while they describe themselves as Christian conservatives. Nothing could be further from the truth. In reality, many of the elite are groomed at a young age to take part in occult rituals. Those who attend Yale are indoctrinated into the Order of Skull and Bones, an elite secret society cloaked as a fraternal order.
Yale University is 300 years old this year, and were you to visit its campus, you would see that it still has exotic clubhouses, which look like tombs where Yale's legendary secret societies meet. Their prestige and importance have largely evaporated, but the rituals are still a secret. And so when we heard that some enterprising characters had managed to spy on the famous Skull and Bones Society, well, we couldn't resist.
Skull and Bones, people say it's a fraternity at Yale University, but it's really a postgraduate organization. So it was founded in 1832. And it's not like a normal fraternity. People don't pledge. These people choose who they want to come. So they do the recruiting. They recruit 15 people every year. People who they see are going to be powerful people in the future. So they're recruited when they're a junior in college. A lot of these people come from really wealthy and influential families because they know that this person has the resources to then elevate them to a position of power that can benefit the club.
The video shows the neophytes, or initiates, kissing a skull, then performing a mock human sacrifice. Horrific screams caught on tape include chants of, "The devil equals death, death equals the devil."
True. Famous alums include Senators John Kerry and John Chafee, to name two, cabinet secretaries such as Averell Harriman, and 3 presidents, William Taft, George Bush, and George W. Bush, who's been reluctant to talk about Skull and Bones.
Does it still exist? The thing is so secret, I'm not even sure it still exists.
Former Skull and Bones members and current members have been presidents, heads of the CIA, senators, heads of business. I mean, huge, huge corporations. These people have the network that brings them to such a position of power that most people could only dream of.
Bush would run against his fellow bonesman and distant cousin John Kerry in 2004.
You both were members of Skull and Bones, a secret society at Yale. What does that tell us? Not much, because it's a secret. Is there a secret handshake? Is there a secret code? I wish there were something secret I could manifest. 322, a secret number? There are all kinds of secrets, Tim.
You were both in Skull and Bones, the secret society.
It's so secret we can't talk about it.
What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go wild.
I'm sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the web.
Number 322? This is an elaborate, occult, ritualistic entry into this group that they are now a member of for life.
This culture of death and the occult continues long after college. Later on in life, these pagan rituals carry on in the redwoods of Sonoma, California.
And what is the Bohemian Grove? Well, it's a kind of summer camp for the powerful, an all-male gathering in great secrecy.
This group was formed in the late 1800s by artists, industrialists, and politicians. Bohemian attendees worship the owl as their deity. The Aztecs, Mayans, and other natives of Mesoamerica consider the owl a symbol of destruction and death. This is why the opening ritual for the club is the cremation of care. During the ritual, the effigy of a baby is rowed across the water by the Grim Reaper and given to a high priest, who then tosses it on a fiery sacrificial altar of a 40-foot owl god. It is an earth-based ritual in which care is burned away. The conscience is symbolically cast aside so that they may ignore the pain they have inflicted on others for the advancement of their own agendas.
With this ceremony called the Cremation of Care, that begins the 2-week encampment where the body of dull care, symbolizing woes and concerns, is burned on an altar in front of a big owl statue. When that ceremony ends, they all start to cheer and yell.
You have to ask yourself why it is that somebody would want to do that, let alone these elite people. And if you look at the elite throughout history, many of the people that achieve pinnacles of power are into the occult. They seek a supernatural way to gain power.
Why are Christian conservatives such as the Bushes and Newt Gingrich attending the Grove?
And I recognize I'm not going to be invited to Renaissance Weekend or that Bohemian deal where Newt, Rush, and Dick all sit in a teepee, naked, beating on tom-toms.
Why does the media barely mention the Grove? Because many of them are in attendance. Late political cartoonist Phil Frank of the San Francisco Chronicle draws a reporter thinking about his loyalties to Bohemian Grove as he takes notes for a story.
Stories about what happens in these redwoods are hard to come by. A campground statue reminds Bohemians to keep their mouths shut about the Grove.
Many world events have been shaped at the Grove, including the creation of the atomic bomb.
Discussions at the Grove in the 1930s helped lead to the development of nuclear power and the atomic bomb.
Every Republican president since Calvin Coolidge has been a member, as well as many Democrats, including Jimmy Carter.
If you look at the membership lists of the Bohemian Grove and the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderberg Group, a lot of the key level people are overlapping and are involved in numerous groups.
In addition to pagan rituals that take place there, this all-male club also deals with darker themes through the plays Montezuma, which feature Aztec human sacrifice, and Faust, which feature Mephisto. Some of these plays are disturbingly flamboyant. Many of the elitists have a penchant for cross-dressing and singing show tunes. Perhaps that is why much of the all-male staff also happen to be homosexuals.
Well, each year, many of them seem to have a stunt or try to come up with a stunt. Last year, 1980, the popular button was Free the Fortune 500.
Bohemian Grove that I attend one time to time. It is the most faggot goddamn thing you will ever imagine.
In 2004, the New York Post reported that gay porn star Chad Savage would be servicing moguls at the Bohemian Grove. In recent years, several politicians have been outed in scandals, including Senator Larry Craig, who tried to solicit sex from an undercover officer.
And there, it kind of veers off into the, again, the fraudulent nature of a lot of these people. And it's not just, hey, I'm a closeted homosexual. It starts getting into the abuse of children. It starts getting into the quote-unquote Franklin scandal. If you've never seen that movie before, that is almost 2 hours deep that we get into that subsection. A New World Order Defined, Invisible Empire. Please check it out. Okay, I promised this, and we've got two separate news clips from the 80s, one from ABC News that we're going to start. Let's get the thumbs up, huh? We're bringing you the histories, mysteries, realities. We're showing you where you can read the autobiography of the high priest of the Bohemian Grove, and we're showing you some of the really great works that are tougher to get, such as The Greatest Men's Party on Earth by John Vander Zee. This clip, also not the easiest to come by these days.
Now a question. What have Herbert Hoover, Art Linkletter, Jack London, and Richard Nixon all had in common? Well, they've all been members of the exclusive all-male Bohemian Club in California, where every year at this time, the elite from around the country get together for 2.5 weeks of fun and games. Steve Shepard has this special assignment report.
More than 2,000 members of San Francisco's exclusive and all-male Bohemian Club have once again descended on Northern California. These men will spend most of the month of July encamped on some 2,700 acres of pristine and privately owned redwood forest. Forest very much like this. The place is called Bohemian Grove, and it's located just 80 miles north of San Francisco. The Grove is the Bohemian Club's summer retreat, and its facilities are hidden beneath lush forest canopy extending south from the banks of Sonoma County's Russian River. For more than a century, the camp has been a place where club members and guests from all across America gather to relax. The retreat is divided into dozens of small camps, the most prominent of which is called Mandalay. Among its members are businessmen like Leonard Firestone and Edgar Kaiser, and political figures like Gerald Ford, Henry Kissinger, William French Smith, and George Shultz. President Reagan, Vice President Bush, and Defense Secretary Weinberger are members of other camps. Richard Nixon is a Bohemian, and so are high-ranking executives of such companies as Eastern Airlines, Standard Oil of Indiana, and Bank of America. For the most part, the men of Bohemian Grove are over 50, highly successful, and, according to many employees, politically conservative.
Well, each year, many of them seem to have a stunt or try to come up with a stunt. Last year, 1980, the popular button was Free the Fortune 500.
Membership in the Grove is by invitation only and is determined by such factors as social standing, occupation, and personal connections. Privacy is one of the Grove's most cherished virtues. Members may not photograph, record, speak, or write about activities at the retreat. While many public officials are Grove members, the press is a distinctly unwelcome guest.
We're from ABC News.
Well, get back there. Get back there.
Can we talk to somebody in the...
Get back there.
Anyone willing to navigate a boat up the Russian River can get a glimpse of the northern edge of the compound, but that's about all. Still, there are outsiders who have researched the Grove. Sociology professor William Dumhoff found out enough to write a book on the place.
Well, I think it's a playground for the powerful. It's a place where wealthy men from all over the United States gather for 2 weeks to relive summer camp with this ceremony called the Cremation of Care that begins the 2-week encampment where the body of dull care, symbolizing woes and concerns, is burned on an altar in front of a big owl statue. When that ceremony ends, they all start to cheer and yell and hand each other a beer.
Other regular activities include the production of 2 plays, one of which involves major sets, orchestral music, and extravagant costumes. The other play appears to be just a bit on the lighter side, at least judging from these old photos. Members also spend time swimming, hiking, relaxing in the sun, and doing a bit of drinking from the Grove's own privately labeled spirits. Like a boys' camp, the Grove has a symbol, in this case a somewhat fierce-looking owl. It also has a patron saint, St. John of Nepomuk, a legitimate 13th century Bohemian canonized for his sense of honor. What the Grove does not have is any women, not even as employees. Despite its camp-like atmosphere, the Grove does host some serious business.
To the degree that there's anything important happens at the Bohemian Grove, it's political. The important speeches that have been made at the Bohemian Grove have been made, for instance, and the best example, by Richard Nixon. Eisenhower gave a speech there. It was the first time the West Coast establishment really saw him close up.
Discussions at the Grove in the 1930s helped lead to the development of nuclear power and the atomic bomb. It was at the Grove in 1967 that Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan hashed out differences over their presidential ambitions. Each year, guests like Henry Kissinger or Zbigniew Brzezinski address members on their areas of expertise. Presidential counselor Edwin Meese will be among this year's speakers. And each year, other guests come to the Grove simply to enjoy themselves. This year, CIA Director William Casey is a scheduled guest of John McCone, former CIA Director. Baseball Commissioner Bowie Kuhn has been invited as a guest of baseball owner Peter O'Malley. Despite the presence of so many notables, the Grove is not without its small headaches. Anti-nuclear demonstrators gathered near the entrance to the retreat this year to wave signs and chant slogans. The Grove is also facing a suit from the state of California because it refuses to hire women. Still, the Bohemian Grove seems in no danger of passing. Herbert Hoover called it the world's greatest men's party, and there is a list of powerful people waiting to get in on it. Steve Shepard, ABC News, San Francisco.
Can you imagine a piece that in depth on the Bohemian Grove today, or the Bilderberg Group? I mean, there was a reason, and we're going to play another clip here that we played that. Yeah, fun and games, but then they're showing you the important. They're showing you Brzezinski. Remember I mentioned John D. Rockefeller, and that John D. Rockefeller is in that journey of Bromley himself. You know, we often talk about Rockefeller and his influence in things like the Trilateral Commission, the CFR, et cetera, et cetera. David, the son of John D. This is that generational nepotism. Okay, Brzezinski, big acolyte of that way of thinking. They show you Kissinger, Casey, McComb, the Central Intelligence Agency. Yeah, no big deal. Just like the world's most powerful people in the Western establishment and their intel community meeting at these places, totally, unaccounted for. And that, that's a 1981 piece. 1981, 44 years ago. 44. Now we're going to show you this 1984 piece as well. Pun intended, not really. It's actually from 1984. Once again, thumbs it. We don't even have 100 thumbs up. And if you're commenting in the live stream, give me a comment down below. Let's get this one out there. Once again, how much of the alternative media, forget about the mainstream, has covered the Bohemian Grove this year. And I do want to thank Dina Ray for the generous donation during this broadcast. It's only from people like you, Dina, that I will continue to be able to do this. So thank you, thank you, thank you. On to the next clip.
Every year, 2,000 of the most powerful men in America descend upon a tiny town in California's wine country. Political heavyweights, corporate leaders, and celebrities arrive at a meeting of the world's most exclusive men's club.
It's considered to be the wealthiest, most powerful concentration of men anywhere in the Western world at any given time.
The Bohemian Club of San Francisco has attracted a host of men, from Henry Kissinger to Clint Eastwood, and every Republican president since Herbert Hoover. They've all been guests at what is billed as an annual cultural and recreational retreat in 3,000 acres of redwoods.
It's as if all the boardrooms and the Supreme Court, major law firms, had all emptied out onto Fraternity Row and was somehow transposed to a redwood forest.
Security in the Bohemian Grove is extremely tight. It's almost as if there were a military installation down there. Everything is kept under wraps, and in this case, under the trees. Members and guests at the Bohemian Grove are sworn to secrecy about what goes on inside. What most people do not know is that for more than a century, they've kicked off their retreat with a spectacular nighttime ceremony. From the air, the encampment is lit up with torches. Suddenly, the night is ablaze as robed men begin the cremation of care, a ritual that symbolizes the shedding of the burdensome responsibilities of the outside world. It is the start of a 2-week celebration. John Vanderzee, once a waiter at the Grove, authored a book about his experiences. He says once inside, these very public figures are quick to enjoy the freedom of privacy.
There was a story that one man told that he realized that he was really in the Bohemian Grove when he saw Dwight Eisenhower and Richard Nixon relieving themselves against the same redwood tree.
The motto of the Bohemian Club is "Weaving spiders, come not here." Simply put, that tells members to leave their business and political deals at home and simply have a good time. But some people say with this much power and this much money located in one place, there is more to the Bohemian Club than campfires and canoeing.
It's considered very, very bad form to use the Grove, especially for overt purposes, advance your own interests. At the same time, it's a very useful association that friendships and contacts you make there carry on into the outside world.
Important issues are discussed daily during lakeside talks. Insiders say that speeches given here can make or break political careers. Some claim that political deals made in the Grove have changed the course of history.
In 1967, during the encampment, Ronald Reagan and Richard Nixon arrived at an understanding that Reagan, who had just been elected governor of California, would not enter the 1968 presidential race unless Nixon faltered.
For years, protesters have demonstrated outside the Grove for a variety of causes. Mary Moore, a local political activist, feels that such closed meetings of the elite undermine the democratic process.
The point is that this is where ruling class bonding takes place, and that place is not open to minority people, to people of color. It is not open to women. It is open to white men who pretty much run this world. They're like overgrown Boy Scouts, only a lot more dangerous as far as the world is concerned.
Others in the tiny town of Mont Rio see the Bohemian Grove as a source of money and jobs. The sudden wave of wealth also brings in outsiders, prostitutes like Carol Lee, who are attracted by the prospect of 2,000 wealthy men. For the last 5 years, she's worked the bars across the river from the Grove. She says prostitution here is more of a legend than a business.
The men who see prostitutes are in an incredibly small minority. I mean, it's not that all these guys are seeing prostitutes. I think people should understand that. It's a really small percentage. It's just that it has symbolic meaning in the Grove, that all the Grove members talk about it. There's an idea that men who are powerful do have women available. It's good for men's ego. Their relationship with prostitutes is highly mythologized.
During the retreat, prostitutes appear to operate openly without interference from law enforcement. Inside the compound, there have been persistent rumors about closet homosexuality. Don Heimforth, a former waiter, says there have always been relationships between club members and employees.
One black waiter, gay black waiter, years ago said it's whenever they would come over to the employees' quarters, and he made the comment that it was not unlike coming down from the big house to the slaves' quarters for a piece of.
Such allegations about the camp have angered many who feel that leaders who adamantly embrace traditional values are not what they appear to be.
These are the hypocrites who, on the outside, are not giving the money that is needed for AIDS, that is not given the money, that is needed for certain kinds of research, and yet they, indulge in this on the quiet. What gets me is the secrecy of this and the hypocrisy of it.
There isn't too much overt bad behavior because most of these men are to the manner born, and they're well behaved.
Insiders we spoke with all said heavy drinking seemed to be the most popular activity.
For me, the eye-opener was the amount of alcoholism. I mean hardcore, third stage alcoholism. Watching men going into blackouts and DTs at the dining tables.
Officials at the Bohemian Club refuse to discuss what goes on at the Grove. The club was recently ordered by the Supreme Court to employ women for the first time. Despite the controversy, rumors, and the possibility of women working there, many feel the tradition of power at the Bohemian Grove will endure.
The Grove would continue to attract members simply because it's an association that remains extremely useful in the outside world. And there seems to be some deep need within men for this return to nature, male bonding, an extension of a night without rules.
So, there's a few things that I want to talk about of that last segment, and then we're going to read a little bit of this on the tail end of the broadcast. Number one, weaving spiders come not here. Okay? When he says that means leave all your woes behind, no. It means don't come in here and start exposing our business. All right? Don't come in here with a plot to, it's not so much that they care that you're promoting yourself. These people are social climbing, predator class or nepotistic bloodline. They're all looking out for number one. Okay? But don't come in here to screw us, to expose us. You talk about those lakeside chats that make or break people, right? That stays internalized. That's what they're talking about. And, as far as that woman, and rightfully so, she's talked about rich white men. This is 1984. They have had some black members and associates since then, Clarence Thomas being one of them. But you notice that they literally just talked about the closeted homosexuality of these people, and then going down to the employee quarters or the quote-unquote slave camp. Once again, read the Franklin scandal. Now, I'm not accusing anything underage going on in that certain scenario, but if you watch the rest of that segment in Invisible Empire, it's not just closeted homosexuality that we're talking about, it's the abuse of children. Teenage boys, sometimes even younger. Just throwing that out there. These are the people that you just saw have great influence over the planet. No big deal. All right, so want to read just a little bit. And by the way, you notice the owl, and I don't talk about it enough, but that's Pan on the bottom. If you were watching the segment in Invisible Empire, Pan is also a big part of that. And I know there are many people out there that will say that, Pan is simply a representation of Baphomet or Lucifer or Satan. There's certainly those arguments via symbology to be made. But in this instance, it is Pan, all right, that the great god of mischief, if you will, that appears throughout the Grove and these themes. And it is the owl that is, in fact, their deity, and the weaving spiders that come not here. They're saying, don't you dare come in here and go against us. So this is just the acknowledgments page, and we're only going to read just a little bit of this, okay? For help I received in researching and writing this book, I am indebted to a number of men whose names it would be awkward to mention. In other words, insiders. who are loyal to the Bohemian Club and to the truth in a way that some of their fellow members might not understand and whose confidence I've tried to honor. Okay? Weaving spiders come not here. And this is, man, what year is this? 1974, I think? Let me see. Hold on. We're doing it live. Tell me I don't have a date on this bad boy. That's crazy. And this came from a public library. I mean, I didn't buy it from a public library. Oh, there's a little, yes. Man, sometimes I can remember. 1974, John Vandersea. See, my memory's not the best all the time, but pretty good. So the first chapter is Owls and Other Aircraft. Okay, there was a small airport in Sonoma County, California, that for 3 consecutive weekends each year is unlike any other airport on Earth. On these weekends, usually beginning on a Thursday in mid-July, corporate jets, Smooth Lears, and Lockheed Jetsters drop out of the parched sky at intervals like seasonal gusts of expensive wind and coming shrieking in over the brown infield grass, reducing the bystanding Pipers and Cessnas to work machines, dry planes, and the distant firefighting Borate bombers to shadowy outside prehistoric beasts. It is a scene out of an Ian Fleming 10, 12, 14 corporate jets lining the runway like units of Millionaire Squadron. By the way, Ian Fleming, of course, the author of the James Bond series. Men, almost always 50 years old or older, in expensive suits or sports clothes, stepping down ramps, carrying suitcases, bending into station wagons, pulled onto the apron, or walking briskly through the quivering asphalt heat and concentrate, glare into the terminal and out the other side, where, after handling their luggage to a chauffeur or a cab driver or climbing behind the wheel of a complimentary car, they extend the glide in which they arrived. Those are the books, guys. Again, The Long and Go and The Later On, available on Google. I would encourage people to please go check that out if you want to really check out the history of the Bohemian Grove. And again, look into the history of the 1800s. I find that kind of stuff totally and completely fascinating. If you weren't here for the beginning and you want to check out the modern day ritual right here, it's just a small excerpt of it, but the modern day ritual is pretty much the same as the old school ritual that we read. That's something to take note. And I cannot do it without you. I can't repeat this enough, but seriously, I need you guys now more than ever. $5, $10, $15, big donors. Thank you so much. We're going to be doing this multiple times a day. All right, so $5, $10, $15, big donors. Once again, you mean the world to me. There are other links down below. You know the drill. You can watch all of my documentary films for free in the playlist section, including Invisible Empire that we showed a small portion of, Shade the Motion Picture, Fabled Enemies, Loose Change, Final Cut. It is not about left or right, folks. It is always about right and wrong. I absolutely love you guys, and I will see you all on the flip side.